Okay, today we're going to start with HTML, and we're going to begin with the basics, and that is beginning from nothing, just using nothing but Notepad. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Notepad. One way I open it is I just click Start, Run, and then I type in Notepad, and it comes up in a little window here. You can resize this to however you feel more comfortable. And then we're going to start off with just typing something. For example, I'm going to type in this is a tutorial. And if I go now to save this, I don't want to save it as just a text file. I want to save it as, I'll just do all files here, and I'll just call this mypage.htm. And I will click save. And you'll see that it appeared here on the window. Now you'll also see that it doesn't have an extension here. One way that you can fix that on Windows is if you have something like a folder open like this. Okay, so if you go up here to Tools, Folder Options, and then over here you'll see this thing that says View. There's usually a lot of different things in here that you can check or uncheck, but the one I'm going to look at here is Hide Extensions for Known File Types. If I click that and do OK, you'll see how this has a .exe on the end, and down here my page has a .htm on it. So if I was to double click that, it would open up here in my window, and it says this is a tutorial. So if I jump back over to Notepad here, and if I say I hope this works, and then I go and refresh over here, nothing has changed, because I have to do File, Save in this window, and then go back over here and refresh. Now another shortcut for refresh is F5. So if I hit F5, that'll do the same thing. Now if I do a bracket B, and now anything inside these little brackets like this, these little greater than, less than signs, are called tags. So if I do that, that tells things following this that this is going to be bold. For example, if I save this and then go back over and refresh it here, everything after that line is bold. Alright, if I want to end the bold somewhere, I do the same bracket B, but with this slash in front of it, and the front means end, the front slash. So if I save this and go back and refresh, this part is bold and the rest is not, which you can see here. Alright, you can also do some other tags. For example, I, and then /I will let you do italicize, and then there is U and /U, and that will be underline. Now I try to steer people away from using underline because that typically indicates a link in a web page, so try to use other ways to emphasize your text. I'm going to go to the next line here, and I'm going to say this is another line, and another line. I'm going to say this is yet another line. How about a fourth line? Alright, and I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to refresh. And you'll see that what happened was it just put it one right after the other, after the other, after the other. The reason is HTML doesn't care about carriage returns in these kinds of documents. What you have to actually do is at the end of a line, you have to put a bracket BR, bracket /BR, sorry. And what that is doing is it's telling the document those are carriage returns. Those are breaks. That's what BR stands for. If I refresh, you'll see that it puts it on different lines. Okay, another way of adding breaks in a paragraph here is to actually use a paragraph tag. So for example, if I put a bracket P and then put a paragraph here, this is an example of using a paragraph tag. Okay, if I save this and then jump back up and refresh here, you'll see that it did a break, but it also did a blank line. Right here, this is just basically HTML. And this is useful if you're doing things like a blog or MySpace or something, because you can put this stuff inline in your messages. But I want to show you how to start from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and close this window, and I will close this window, and then I'm going to go ahead and delete that document there. I'm going to go back and run Notepad, and I'm going to start with an actual outline of a web page. Every web page basically has to start with HTML and end with close HTML or end HTML. And inside the HTML there are some other tags that you'll always see. For example, head, and obviously end head, and under that will be body and end body. Now these spaces don't matter because, as I said before, HTML doesn't really see those. And so then inside the head you can put a title tag, and inside the title I can put this is, whoops, oh I guess it doesn't really matter, this is a cool page, and then I'm going to end my title. And again, you can have things on the same line or you can break them up like this. Sometimes I'll do it on the same line and then I'll tab over a little bit or space over a little bit just so I can kind of keep things separate. I'll probably put a space in between body here. Now the head is all the information, background information of the page, such as the title. The body is everything that will actually be seen on the page. So I'm going to put, this is my page. And I will save this as coolpage.htm, and I'll just do save. And so you'll see it appears here. Now there's a couple ways to open this. If I double click it, it's obviously going to open in Explorer, but I can also start and then do open with Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or whatever browser I'm using. So I'll go ahead and open it back in Internet Explorer here. And it says this is my page, but you'll notice up here at the top it says this is a cool page, and down here at the bottom it says this is a cool page. That's because it's reading my title here. So if I change this to my page 1.0 and then I do save and go back and refresh this, you'll see that it's my page 1.0 now on the bar. Alright, so that's basic HTML. Every page will have, like I said, a begin HTML and an end HTML, and a begin head and an end head, and a begin body and end body, and the title is always inside the head. Alright. So rather than just have something that says this is my page, I'll take this opportunity to show you some other tags, and that is H1. That means heading, and so I'm going to type this as heading level 1, and then I got, of course, have to end H1, and then I might have H2 heading level 2. And actually I should be doing my tags in lowercase. That's kind of correct HTML coding. You'll see here that since I'm doing these in different cases, it will still work. It's just sloppy coding. Alright, and H4 heading level 4. I'm going up to 6 because that's how many heading levels there are. All platforms won't support all 6 levels, but most of them do. So H6 heading level 6. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and save this now. Jump back over here and refresh, and you'll see the differences in the different heading levels. Alright, so underneath this I'm just going to add a line and I'll start typing some text here. Like this is an example of the level 1 heading. And if I save it, jump back over and refresh, you'll see that it has regular text. And the reason it has regular text is because we closed H1. Now if I had inadvertently forgotten to close a tag like that, it would give me something like this. You notice not only does it not break, because headings automatically have a break, but it continues on with the same level, the same heading level. So I have to remember to always close a tag you open. Alright, I'm going to change this to lowercase just so we keep consistency and proper code. So let me make sure that this is saved and refreshed and working properly. Good. Alright, now there's another thing in here, and that is an align attribute. So for example, I can have heading, but I can do align equals center like this, and this align tag is deprecated, meaning it still works, but future versions of HTML or XHTML, as the case may be, may not actually work with this. I believe it will, but I'm going to show it to you. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I will go ahead and refresh, and you'll see that this is now centered. What's nice about this is no matter what size window you're dealing with, that is centered, so you don't have to try to space over to get something to look right, and in fact, if you do that, it probably won't. And the other thing is, let's see here, if I go back to the paragraph tag and I do P, this is a whole paragraph of information about HTML. And then I should close the paragraph, but what's cool here is I can also do my align equals center, or in this case maybe I'll do align equals right. And I can do a save, go back over here and do a refresh, and you'll see that this is over here aligned to the right. And again, no matter what size my window is, it stays aligned to the right. And you'll see that it will wrap if the window is too small. Alright. Now I mentioned that all HTML pages started with HTML. Since if you're using XHTML, XML, you need to have some beginning information here, such as XML version equals 1.0, encoding equals UTF-8, and really the important thing is just to put this in and not really worry too much about what it's doing. And then doc type, you'll also hear this called the DTD, and which means document type definition. And the last line that we need to put in here is part of the HTML tag, and that will say it's HTML XML NS equals http://www.w3.org/1999/XHTML. Okay, so that's kind of a complicated, messy way of starting, but what I would do is I would just copy and paste this on any documents you're creating in the future. So another thing I want to get to down here, block quote. So if I type out block quote, and then I put a list of information, such as HTML, extensible markup language. Okay, so you'll notice I put these spaces out here in the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and if I go over here and refresh, but if I take these spaces away and save it and refresh, you'll see we still have the spaces. I put these spaces in here as a help for formatting so that I could see it, and it doesn't really do anything. Any of these spaces are just empty. What this is doing is that this block quote out here is causing it to tab out here anything inside this paragraph. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and take this align right thing out of here because it's just kind of adding an ugly space, and then I'm going to save and refresh. Okay, the next important thing here for HTML is making lists. Lists are ways of organizing information on a page. So for example, I'm going to go here, let's go before block quote, and I'm going to make a new list. For example, if I want to do an ordered list, which means like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I do bracket OL. Oops, I should use lowercase again for proper context here. And obviously it ends in bracket OL. And then each item is a list item, LI. And I can say dog, and then end list item. And then list item cat, and then end list item. Okay, list item pig, and end list item. Now if I go save this and I refresh here, you'll see that I have this ordered list 1, 2, 3. So if I go back here real quick, I'm going to add something in between cat and pig. And I'll do list item, horse, and then I will save, and I did a list item, refresh, and you can see that it now moved pig to number 4. So it keeps track of that for you. Now if you want to do just a bulleted list where it doesn't really matter what order it's in or whether it's numbered or not, you can do unordered list, UL, and then of course end your unordered list, and then you would do list item taco, list item burrito, list item tamale, and then make sure that looks okay, and I will save, and then I will refresh. So you'll see the difference here with an ordered list and an unordered list. And there's another type of list called a definition list. Alright, and it looks like this. You do bracket DL. The difference here is that for a definition list you have defined term, and you might have something like HTML, for example, and then end your defined term. And then after that you have defined data, and this could be the definition. So HTML stands for hypertext markup language. Whoops. Language. And then a bunch of other information could go here. And then of course you end your defined data, and then you have to make sure you end your definition list here. Let me just do one more. Definition 2. This could be WYSIWYG, and I'll go down here for the DD, and I'll say WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. And I will end that and make sure I have my NDL, and I'm going to save this and refresh. Now, so this comes out, and this is a definition. It puts the word here and the definition here. Now, had this text been longer, for example, I'm going to copy this, whoops, not the DD part, and paste it, and paste it, and paste it, so that when you come back here and refresh, you'll see that the definition comes out as a little extra block. Okay, so I want to go back to the top here. I'll do it before the H1 tag. Alright, and I want to type just a sentence. For example, this is a sample sentence to demonstrate formatting. And then I will put H2O and let's see, 28. Let's just put the 0 for degrees. And I'm going to save this and come back and preview it. Alright, so you'll see up here, this is a sample sentence to demonstrate formatting. Okay, now you'll see that I did the break wrong. So if I do the BR and then the break and then the end, sorry, come back here and refresh, it will work. Now the reason I put this text here is so that I can demonstrate some extra formatting, and that is if I want this 2 to go down, that's called a sub, and then I can end sub. So if I save this and refresh, you'll see that it's the H2O. And then I put the 28 degrees over here so that if I put SUP, that's super, and then end SUP, it'll come up here. Alright, so that's a little bit of extra formatting. If I jump back over here and I want to have something crossed out, for example, I might take out the word sample, but I might want to still have it shown. So I can put the word strike in front of it and then end strike after it. So let me save it, refresh. and you'll see that it shows up as a strike through. So another thing I want to get to down here, another thing that's important is if you're trying to put a special character such as a copyright symbol, you might want to insert it in here. You can actually put a ampersand copy and then semicolon, and if you save that and refresh it, you'll see the copyright symbol in there. Now this ampersand and then end with a semicolon way is the way that you can put other special characters too. So for example, ampersand NBSP semicolon adds a space. So if I put ABC, you should see a space now before the text. Alright, that's the only way. So if I wanted to put a space after ABC and do 1, 2, 3, and I refresh, there's only one space. Alright, but if I was to put this ampersand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and take out all these extra spaces here, you'll see that I have my 5 spaces. So here right at the top of body, I'm going to put home and then a space, and then there's a pipe symbol usually next to the backsplash, and then I'll put email me space pipe, and then I'll put askgriff.com or yahoo.com or whatever you want to put, youtube.com, and CNN. Let me put a paragraph at the end of this here. Okay, so if we start here and we have this basically a menu bar across the top, and again if we save this and refresh it over here, you'll see that it's up here. Well, what we can do is we can make this a link. So for example, if we come up here and we want to make a link, let me go ahead and make a link off of the menu first, and I can do this href, and what that means is anchor hyperlink reference equals, I know that's confusing, but just go with it for a second. If I do http://www.askgriff.com, for example, and then I put wahoo and then in my anchor here and save this, when I refresh, there's a thing here that says wahoo, and if you look down here at the bottom, when I put my mouse over it, it shows you where it's going to go. And if I click that, I'm not going to click it because I'm not sure exactly. Oh yeah, I do. It'll go to Ask Griff. Alright, and so I'm going to go back here, and you'll see that the color changed. We'll get into that later. But I don't really want it to say wahoo. I might want it to say Ask Griff or askgriff.com or something like that. So I'll save this and refresh it, and now it says askgriff.com, and it still points to askgriff.com. Alright, so if I was to take this piece of code here, cut that and paste that inside here, it's in line, and if I go and refresh, one of my menu choices is now active. And this file is called coolpage.htm. So if I wanted to link to that, I can do something here. Instead of home, I will do anchor href equals and then coolpage.htm, and then I'll put home and then end my anchor. And what this means is, since this over here is linked to http:// this is an absolute link. Alright, the other link is linked to another file in the same folder or on the same web page. Okay, and those links are called relative links. But it's going to look for coolpage.htm in whatever folder it's already sitting in. Alright, so if I save this and refresh, home should take us there, AskGriff will take us to AskGriff, and then I can set up these other links. So let me go back over here to CNN, and just to get this to work, I'll do anchor href equals http://www.cnn.com, and then I'll have it linked to CNN and in the anchor. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and save it and preview it just to see. Okay, that kind of worked. You see I accidentally took the space out. So sometimes you have to do this and go in and massage your code a little bit. And so I'll just jump down here. I'll add the space here before the link. And then refresh. You see it moved over. Alright, and the next piece here is an email. So if I do a href equals, so this is a hyperlink reference here, and I'm going to end the anchor. And instead of doing a address, I'm going to type mail to, one word, colon, and then my email address, askgriff@gmail.com. Alright, and so if I click that and then go over here to refresh, it comes up with email me. Now that's a completely valid way of working. If I click that, it comes up with my mail client, but this is exactly the problem that you'll have. Could not perform this operation because the default mail client is not properly installed. Alright, now what that means is normally somebody can copy and paste your address. In this case, they can't do that. So there's a trade-off here. Instead of saying email me, you could say askgriff@gmail.com, and then before the link starts, you can say email me, and then save it and preview it, and it'll look something like this. Alright, now even though you can click it and it'll do the same thing, your users can then copy and paste into a program like Gmail. Now, one of the reasons that I want to go back here and talk about formatting, there's logical style and physical style. Physical basically just says if you want something bold, you just do the bracket B, and then you say this is bold. Unfortunately, all that does is tells a program that it's bold. If you want to say something like strong, which is another way of doing bold, you can say this is an example of strong, and then you end your strong. Now if I save this and show you the difference, you really don't see any difference here. This is bold, this is strong. Alright, let me add these little paragraphs here and show you again. It looks to you like probably the same exact thing, but for accessibility reasons, it's important to use strong instead of bold, because screen readers for people who have sight deficiencies or blindness, they have screen readers, such as there's a program called JAWS that will read a web page for them. If they see bold, it just continues reading the text as normal. If it sees the word strong, it will emphasize that word during the reading. Alright, so that's why some of these codes are being deprecated and new codes are taking place. And a lot of times you'll wonder, why are we doing it strong if bold is so much easier, or why are we doing, when you can italicize something, you know, why are we saying emphasis instead of the I? And that's some of the reason. Alright, one more thing here, and that is going back to the body tag. And some of this stuff is going to be changed with CSS, but some of the functions here is you can do body bg color equals and then orange, and that means background color equals orange. So if I go back and preview, my background color is orange. Now what's nice about this is that if you don't know the number, like a color range, you can just type yellow, and if you save it, the background color changes to yellow. But if you want to try to match something exactly, there are a couple different ways to do that, and that one is to have an RGB color, background equals RGB, and then there are three numbers. The first is red, the second is green, and the third is blue, RGB. So for example, if you wanted it goes up to 255 red, 0 green, and 0 blue, and you save this, it's going to be all red because there's no yellow and no blue. So if you add some green to this and you say I want this to be about 100 and save, you get this orangish color. And I can add some blue, say 200, and refresh. And so you can see that you can really match colors this way. Now there's another way of doing this, and that is also using RGB, but it's using a number. So there are 6 digits. If I do 00, 00, 00, 00, this is red, this is green, and this is blue. Alright, so if I want it all green, I can put, say, 99 here, and that's not going to be all green, but I'll talk about that in a second. And you'll see that it's very green. Alright, but if you want it to be some blue also, and refresh, it's kind of a teal color. And there is a list in the back of your text, Web Development and Design Foundations with XHTML, and really most web design books. There's a chart in the back that will give you both versions of the code usually. So all zeros is black, all F's is white, and you can see those in your book. Now if you decide you wanted something besides a color, you wanted a background graphic, you can actually do background equals and then put the name of your picture, griff.jpg or something. And then if you save it and refresh, it's not showing anything because I don't actually have that picture in the same folder as my web page, which is important. Alright? But it's important that you also realize that a lot of these things here are going to be going away in newer versions. Especially once you get into CSS, you won't be really setting a lot of your color tags and your background tags and stuff because the CSS is going to control all that. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to get started with HTML. What I would do if I was done here is I would leave this blank. I would start back with a blank body tag and then take everything out before body, and I might save this file right here as HTML template.htm, and it really doesn't matter if it says all files are text. And now whenever you want to start a web page, just open this up, plop in your title, put the stuff that you want to be on your body, and you're ready to go. So thanks a lot and good luck.